Hello, and welcome to the Infinite Escape Room Pubisode. This week you join us as we discuss my litany of puzzle design screw-ups from last week's Desert of We puzzle. And then we continue in that vein with a discussion of modern economics and the fallacy of capitalism. And then finally we move on to something actually cheerful that you'd actually talk about in a pub. Jamie's adorable family escape room moment and some top-class podcast recommendations from the gang. Okay, so we are all at the Golden Draught, the only pub in the north where all of the urinals pump straight back through to the bar. And I am Mike Collins, and I'm drinking rather delicious Glencarnock smoky peaty whiskey.
I'm Onakos, and I am drinking some delicious tap water, which, if you believe Olaf from Frozen, has already passed through at least 3 or 4 other creatures before coming to me in its current form as water.
That means you can absorb their power, surely.
That is correct. I have the strength of an oxen and the wit of a Tweety bird.
Oh no, X as it's called.
And the survivability of a ringworm.
In a brain.
I saw that article. It's fucking horrendous.
Oh, wow.
And I'm Jamie, and we are going to feature the return of a previous beer that was one that John drank. It's, God help me, it's the Yorkshire Pudding beer from...
Yes.
My wife picked it up yesterday for me. I'm like, this is going to be perfect. I'll have it for the recording. So, chucks away.
Let's see his face.
I can say,
Okay.
is it perfect?
Oh.
It's not perfect.
How far off?
It's Yorkshire pudding beer. However, those two things are very distinct and separate tastes. You drink it and you get beer, and then approximately 5 seconds later, you get Yorkshire pudding.
So is it like eating
how?
Yorkshire pudding that someone's poured beer into?
Well, they sent us a video of how it's made because they found a tweet that I'd written about it, and they showed us. They just literally dump.
Jamie, no. That's not correct characterization. They did not find a tweet by accident. You tweeted
I
them.
promise I didn't tag them. I just typed in
Because
the
I
words.
savaged their beer in our episode.
And they sent us a video. They literally dump dozens of Yorkshire puddings into the beer mash when they're making the thing.
That's gotta be promotional bullshit, surely. There's no way.
It says on the front, made with real Yorkshire puddings. I mean, this is the second time they've been on this podcast, so...
Maybe that's referring to the people who work in the brewery.
Wow. Whoosh. Hard.
Wow.
I mean, to be fair...
Should we
Somebody's
start making
getting a brown...
aspersions on their lineage and wives?
It's extended
It's
to
like
the
Dom's
wives
getting
as
a
well
brown
now.
paper bag with the crushed Yorkshire pudding through the door as a threat.
That's not a threat, that's a problem.
That's going to be you.
You're in Pudding Town.
I know there's some kind of company that makes beer with old bread, with stale bread. So, why not extend
Yeah,
that into
Andrew
Yorkshire
knows the
pudding?
guy who owns
Because-
that. Toast, yeah.
Because Yorkshire pudding shouldn't be allowed to go stale because it's delicious and should be consumed immediately. You shouldn't have stale Yorkshire
100%.
pudding to do that.
I mean, good quality
100%.
bread, same.
No one wants to admit it, but Yorkshire puddings are filler.
Get
Ooh,
out.
fuck off.
Right, can we kick Dom out of the podcast? Is that allowed?
It's a removal of roles.
banished.
It turns out that this is the line.
Bread's less
This
absorbable
is the
than
edge.
southern.
You can- Oh, dear. Not the Yorkshire puddings.
And I'm Dom, and I am drinking Hobgoblin Gold.
Oh,
Classic.
It looks
What a perfect
and it's
pairing.
named after Wee Wee, but it's delicious and light.
Just
like
a wee wee.
a well hydrated Wee Wee.
Yeah, the other golden ale.
And I'm John, and I just can't help but remember that last time we were in the pub, Dom was drinking mead, held it up, and I said to him, and I quote, "If that were a urine sample, there would be cause for concern." And yet, 2 weeks later, we have cycled back to that exact same issue again.
Is that where Mikey got the
law.
inspiration from?
Maybe. I am drinking a ginger beer, but it's what you might call a slightly alcoholic ginger beer. It's another Aldi special, and it's 2.8%. And I wondered if it would be like just enough to give me a buzz, but not enough that I start slurring. And it's nice. It's got a bit of extra tang.
To clarify, by slurring, you mean
Slowing more.
becoming less articulate, not denigrating certain peoples.
Oh, no, I'm going to do that too.
The alcohol stops that.
The North has had it too good for too long, eh, John?
Yeah. Hey, I spent the entire last weekend in Bolton, and the North has not had it too good for too long, let me tell you.
So let's debrief the puzzle from last week for the listeners and just a few moments ago for us. There are spoilers ahead. If you have not yet listened, do please listen. And if you can make the mental leaps required, do please write in. If you find it blisteringly
I'm just playing
easy,
my tiny violin.
if you find it blisteringly easy, please let me know and I'll frame whatever you say. And then I'll
Live
Enjoy
off
it.
of that
So,
for the rest of your life.
Mike, for Christmas,
I'll die
for
off
Christmas,
it.
you're getting an empty frame.
Oh, I am, yeah. Empty frame.
That's what you're
Rather
getting.
than anybody telling me, oh, yeah, it was actually really easy. And here it is printed on a plate so you can literally dine off it. But no. So, last week, the puzzle, you were trapped in the desert in a sort of plane crash scenario, something you might recognize if you've ever done any kind of team building activities or anything like that as something of a classic plane crash scenario. It's one of these ones that's used with these exact items for a lot of kind of team activities. Idea being, you give a team the scenario and you give them between 10 and 15 minutes and ask them to rank all of the items. So not just the top 5, you ask them to rank all of the items in that exact scenario. And then there's not a 100% right answer, but there's basically kind of like a weighted score, which you can give for a correct and incorrect. But what you're really doing actually is you're trying to get a group of people to communicate and discuss the various merits of things. And you're actually trying to observe, like, you know, is there one person that dominates, or do people naturally set up kind of like a way of voting or of
They
organising
call
things?
him the Dominic.
I'm
They
just
dominated
appalled
it.
that you've made us part of your
Dom,
social
dom.
experiment. Like, this is terrible.
This is
Why-
unethical.
Why take one of the worst things that exist in Western society and submit your friends to it for a podcast? Are you going to do the one next week where we get to electrocute each other to see how far we'll go?
Oh, God.
You
They've all been debunked now anyway.
pretty much. So the cosmetic mirror being at number 1, for example, 80% chance of being spot and rescue. Basically, if you've got something to do signaling with, and a mirror gives you during daylight like the highest kind of potential candle power for that. So it's kind of the idea is it's sort of based on kind of like data and thinking, and the whole thing about, you know, the desert being your number 1 priority is being seen and found, because you're more likely to be rescued than you are to actually be able to walk your way out of the desert, and then preserving water, because dehydration is basically going to be the quickest thing to kill you. It's going to be the heat and the...
Fun side fact. A lot of people are found dead in the desert dehydration with full water canteens.
Oh, because they're trying to
Because
save
they
it.
because they're trying to save water so much that they collapse and fall unconscious with plenty of water still
Oh,
there.
that's crazy.
So the trick is to wait until your friends do that and then hoard it.
Yeah.
Say, hold
fucking
on,
nuts.
shouldn't we be saving that? And then within like a couple of days, you've got 6 people's worth of water to get out of the desert.
Yeah, so you can neck 3 and then still ration the rest off.
Exactly.
I think the point,
So-
though, was that you've got 1 litre because you can recycle it infinitely, as Bear Grylls does constantly with his plastic raincoat. So
And it's piss.
you'd have to recycle other people. Yeah, you'd have to not only wait until they
So-
drop down unconscious, but then also somehow siphon off their urine if they have any left.
Well, no, if you wait till they die, most people void anyway. So
Sure.
As long as you're ready with a little cup.
Yeah,
Just be
yeah.
there ready to catch it and you're good.
yeah, and then you can lick
Wow,
their,
not so much the
lick their
death
sweat
rattle
off
as
their
the death
forehead.
shake.
But yeah, so that's the kind of scenario it is. The idea is it's one of those ones where you ideally get a team and you get them to kind of debate the various merits, and then they present a thing, and then you tell them whether or not they'd have survived, essentially. That's on me. But anyway, you get to the poem, and you're looking at the itis, or the it is,
It is,
Jamie.
yeah.
And you look at the riddle. I can appear as truth or lies, wear a mask and clever disguise. I'm not real the way I may seem. A shadow of truth or a deceptive dream. The answer to that, and there could have been several answers, but anything along the lines of fake. It is fake. If you had basically declared it's fake, you would have won. You'd have confronted, Bear would have gone, fuck's sake, cut, thrown his cup of piss to the floor in disgust, and then half a dozen camera people and sound guys would have emerged from the sand and wreckage and started playing with their phones. Because Bear Grylls famously has...
Stooges.
faked a lot of shit.
But
Has he
not
really?
never the piss though. It's always actually his piss.
It's about the piss mostly. It's mostly basically he
just
goes
the
to
excuse.
television bosses and he's like, guys, I need to drink a lot of piss for reasons to do with my love of piss. Can you
There's some
pay
way
me
I
some
can
money to do
monetize
this
this.
professionally?
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, if you'd said, "Oh, it's fake," then the ending you would have got is, "Oh, for fuck's..." Oh, sorry, that's not his accent. Oh, for fuck's sake! What's his accent?
It was northern.
Oh, for fuck's sake! What? Bear throws his cup of piss to the ground in disgust. Half a dozen camera people and sound guys emerge from the sand and the wreckage and start playing with their phones. You bloody arseholes! This was supposed to be a £12 Netflix special. Oh, where's my feckin' trailer? And then a massive motorhome would emerge from a nearby cactus. Fuck this! I'm having some kangaroo placenta. A frustrated-looking director who up until now had been looking remarkably like a burnt, mangled corpse would then approach you. Look, we'll need you to sign some release forms, but do you want to get something to eat? And just behind the wreck, where you see actually what looks a little bit like a McDonald's. In fact, it looks just like the one off of Junction 11 of the M1, with a large set of curtains coming down around you to reveal you have in fact been in a sand-covered car park in Luton. Oh God, you're in Luton.
I was going to say
And that would have been-
that's a worse ending, I think.
Damn.
Yeah, that wouldn't have felt like
So-
a win.
Certain death of Luton. So when we're there going, Mirage, and you're nodding furiously, the answer was
If
fake.
it just it's because like one person said not real. I'm like, just say it is not real, or it's not real, or it's fake, or just something. Somebody give me the thing I need. I was so aching. I was so close. But again, it's puzzle design. There was multiple slightly fuzzy potential answers to that. I could have just given it to you. The it is fake, and you're on. It is fake. Solved. Satisfying solution. It was just one level of obfuscation too much.
Okay, so I wonder. I mean, the poem's nice,
It is quite nice.
but
Is this
isn't
the sandwich of
anything-
feedback with the term?
there isn't anything else. But there isn't anything else in the setup apart from Bear Grylls' very fake act to make us think that this might not be real. And it would be lovely to have had a couple of bits of flavour earlier on that seem off.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a little
But then
glitch
it's-
in the
then
Matrix, or
it's not a reveal.
Yeah,
then, is it?
exactly.
I suppose the challenge we got for the past 5 years is that the suspension of disbelief that we've been in every cockamamie scenario imaginable.
yeah.
So there's not. We've been
Yeah.
we've been in the gullet of a demonic rabbit twice. There's nothing for us to think that it might not be real. We're sort
Yeah.
of trained to believe
Yeah.
it. Straight
Yeah,
off the
you're
bat.
right. It needed some signposting. Yeah, I felt like basically I was really chuffed with myself because like, okay, the core of this, like for me, is going to be you guys talking about what the most important items are, and everything else is just going to be kind of like little bits to kind of get you towards a resolution with it, and it'll all be fake.
So-
That'll be the thing, and the connecting tissue just wasn't well connected enough, and I'm miffed because it's my last proper puzzle.
I think it's the perfect end.
Only for the next 18 years, Michael. You'll be back.
Wizened.
So I have a question, Michael. Given that we were basically doing a team building exercise there without knowing it, which is the ultimate objective of a team building exercise, because otherwise, if everyone knows it's a team building exercise, then they're on their bestest behavior.
So why do I hate these people more than when I started? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. it's why. But how did we do?
Okay, so it was interesting. You did, as a group, you did the consensus thing pretty well. You did fall prey to the one person says something palpably not true, and then everybody going, okay, this is now part of my objective reality. So I want to say John at one point. Oh, no.
That tracks.
think-
yeah, that
Well,
tracks.
I think you'd all decided at one point, for example, that the parachute was one of the items. And John, you said it out loud at one point that you were like, okay, so the parachute's in the top 5, and you'd basically kind of like decided amongst yourselves that the initial 5 items you got were the correct 5 for the top 5.
Yeah, because I didn't think that. I thought you'd say that's not in the top 5 rather than saying it's to be lower. All right, it seems like that would be a ridiculous thing to try and lug around a desert, but okay.
I guess the relative usefulness of the items depends entirely on what you want to do. And we're not like, okay, we need to walk out of the desert, or we need to signal for help, or we need to camp here and survive. It wasn't actually very clear what activity, what survival strategy we had that we were trying to fit these items around. If the survival strategy is defend yourself from raiders, then the knife and the gun suddenly become...
If it was just us, then I'd be like, right, hunker down here, signaling, conserving water. But Bear Grylls was taking us on an expedition, and that did muddy it a bit for me. So I agree with John that I wasn't sure what we were going to be doing, and therefore what we needed.
No, okay, that's fair. So,
again, obviously these escape rooms are very much a case of suspend all disbelief. But the fact that we had Grills, who is, a survival expert, who wasn't giving us any tips on the survival, just really irked me. I would have almost preferred if it had just been like a list with the items and then like a note at the top saying, if you want to survive in the desert, pick your top 5. And then you just guiding us through, oh no, that's wrong, where you've got that one.
Yeah, but Onikos, you sweet summer child. That would mean Mike didn't get to do a silly voice.
That's exactly what I was thinking, yeah.
I know, I realised that's a flaw.
But it was good fun, though.
Yeah. No, it's true.
well, that's the thing. You've put your finger correctly on one of my other... one of my early tier episode hates, which is why I think I basically banned NPCs for a while, which is exactly that. It's the NPC who doesn't behave like an NPC. It's the NPC who's like, I'm weirdly a robot in this very specific way, and oh god, are you interacting with me? And this isn't... So basically every element of this was slightly wobblier than I thought, which I'm cheesed off with because I thought I'd really worked out the logic of this.
I mean, now that we know that the solution was it's all fake, I'm now thinking, was that you being incredibly clever, giving Bear Grylls a very different accent and pretending that you didn't know what he
Dom is
actually
shaking
sounds
his
like?
head. Do not give him.
No. So before we move on to not the dissection of my fuck up, of my sadness of a room,
It's our loss, not yours. Technically, you beat us.
No, it's not. It's no. I'm supposed to facilitate a good game. You should come out of this feeling challenged.
Enough of your team building bullshit. I'm here to drink and win.
And not necessarily in that order.
This is definitely not it.
Any other last thoughts or questions, or shall I move us on?
I just wanted to say, I really enjoyed the sort of mastermind element of figuring out the order of the items. Once we realized that, we had to get them in the specific order. But I was expecting, we get the order right and something magically pops up out of the sand, like a key appears out of the air, or a cactus turns around and is I don't know.
Yeah, there's something slightly cruel
door
about the order only being relevant for one of the items. Because once we'd done it, I think we all hung on to that in our heads. It's like, okay, we've got these things now that we can do something
and then
with.
Nothing
and actually
specifically happened.
Yeah.
Because I thought once we had the order, Bear was going to take us out into the desert, and then the order would become relevant to our quest. Or we'd have 5 challenges that we had to, use one item for specifically and find a creative way to use said item.
Yeah.
The poem, I like the poem. I like a riddle, but there's something very cruel about it because it leads to all four of us sort of sitting there with our little brain, individually trying to crack this thing. And without any sort of real process. It's one of those challenges where you either suddenly spot it or you never will.
I think that's like a symptom of in escape room, is putting a riddle into an escape room will either be you steamroll it because you know the answer, or it'll just be a complete dead stop. But there's an escape room I went to a couple of years ago where the final answer, the final puzzle, were 3 riddles. And they were riddles I'd seen before. So it was, bam, bam, bam.
So you just
it became a pub quiz to finish an escape room, which left a sort of a sour taste.
If you'd known it was a 4-letter word, again, that probably would have been enough.
Yeah, that sort of thing would have helped.
Signposting again.
If it had been an acrostic. Is it an acrostic where the first letter of each line...
Yeah, that's the first...
that would have worked.
Yeah, see, I was looking for that sort of thing, but then you said it's
but
just a
we'd
riddle.
have
There's
smashed
no
that
code
in
here.
seconds.
Yeah.
We were all hunting through that, looking for letters to pick out.
And it wasn't supposed to be hard. That was the thing. It wasn't supposed to be hard. It was supposed to be your aha moment. It was supposed to be your moment of, aha, this is it.
I think that's the challenge with riddles in general, I think, in these kinds of scenarios, is that it's almost impossible to find a logical path to solve that. It's either you get it or you don't, like John said, is that you can't work it out.
Yeah, there's no difficulty. setting, it's kind of instant win or not quite instant, but you don't get better at understanding the riddle by reading it more and analysing it more. Generally,
Well, it's the quality of the riddle
I don't know
as well.
if I quite agree.
Because remember
They can be solved by thinking. Like, if you think, if you break, the way I do it is I break down each clue, and you think about something that one of the lines could be, and then you could just apply it to the next line and so forth. So you can work through it.
Does it work? Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I've seen a riddle work in an escape room, it's when the riddle is an instruction on how to solve the puzzle, not when the riddle contains the solution itself.
Yeah.
That's usually when it's
That's a
been
good
most
point.
effective.
Well, if you remember the Garden of Eden episode, we had Ridley-El, the angel, who had 3 very simple riddles, and you got them pretty quickly, and they were like pitched just right.
So you were like, this time, oh boy, I'm going to make it hard.
Yeah, it was quality. Yeah, basically. Okay, right, listener.
I'm very chuffed, Michael, because now you've joined me in the sun.
Yeah, I get my first team fail. I'm going to bear it with all of the sadness and resignation, and
I've got 3.
just basically acknowledging
Still the
that
champion, John. Still the champion.
I've screwed up. I mean, just having one of these is really acknowledging that I've fucked up, like massively, just underthought a puzzle.
Yeah, so imagine doing that 3 times.
I can't. I'd cry.
Yeah, all right.
He's already got a child.
If I'm the GM and we fail, it's my fault. If I'm on the team and we fail, it's my fault.
No, this one is very much my fault.
Do I have a BMW outside or something?
Right. Okay. I'm going to move us on. So, yeah. Is anybody coming in hot?
We saw some outdoor theatre today, a kids show in a park, like 90 minutes away, and it was grand.
He said with a high-pitched voice.
The attitude to kids shows and kids stuff that really irks me, and irks Sinead too, in that the way that people are often performing in it is in this slightly half-assed, it doesn't matter, it's just for kids type way. Like there'll be, a solid production with choreographed sequences, and the choreography will just be sort of slightly woolly or slightly.
But is that not
just
because
unrefined?
The reason they're performing for kids is because they couldn't hack it performing for real people?
Oh,
Oh,
no.
Dom. Oh,
Absolutely
Dom.
not.
No.
It may be that there isn't a lot of money available, and that therefore better actors can't afford to do it at the rate that is paid, which would be one of my big bugbears as well. And especially with it being open air, they're generally speaking, from what I know of them, not a lot of them are paid particularly well, and so they tend to attract more sort of younger actors who are straight out of drama school, or maybe who haven't even trained but are just trying to sort of get their equity card by taking part in productions. Also, because the budgets are very constrained, they tend not to spend as much time on rehearsal. I don't know what the script was like, John.
I mean, it wasn't just that. Like the script actually was really solid, and like the songs were good and everything. They had some terrible sound issues where their mics kept dropping in and out for reasons that are unknown. It was very just quite irritating. But there was just it's not. I'm not even like bang on about. I feel like that happens every show, because you'd have been able to see on their faces if they were going, "Oh fuck, my mic keeps cutting out." Like you'd be able to see them looking at each other with a sort of, "Uh-oh, well, we have a problem." It's not just this particular show, but it's like kids, not even just kids theatre, but kids stuff generally. There's a slapdash quality that angers me, because it's kind of the most important stuff, really.
Yeah.
From another angle, like it's the same way that like teachers, everyone goes, "Oh yeah, being a teacher is
those who can't
profession."
teach.
But also, if you can't teach, like it's sort of taking the piss out of it. It's sort of, if you're a teacher, then I think there's definitely a ring of you've not gone very far.
Yeah,
and it's sort of, it permeates through everything, and then we wonder why none of it works very well, and that's just a bit sad, I thought.
I will say that all of my art teachers didn't leave art school going, "Boy, I'm going to teach this." They were all failed artists. So
I mean, right now I'm coming in hot. Talking about creative industries in terms of failed this and failed that. Like, you never heard somebody say, I used to be an accountant. Oh, so you're a failed accountant, are you? No, it's only ever creative stuff where our metrics for success is household name or bust.
Or just making enough to pay the bills and therefore not having to pivot on your career. Most accountants make enough to pay the bills. They don't go, I was getting some accountancy work, but overall, and I'm not saying that I'm disagreeing with you, but I think that the climate in which you can make money in the arts is what the problem is. If you're an accountant, you're almost definitely going to go in immediately salaried, and therefore you're going to make a living. Whereas that's less likely in the arts.
There's almost no such thing as that.
There is, but even so, it's likely to pay less than they should, and you're more likely to be freelance.
I've heard it described as the vocation deduction before. It's one of those things where if you're...
Hello, nurses. Good to see you too.
Well, yeah, it's basically if you're doing something that people want to do because it's a good thing to be doing or a nice or a fun thing to be doing, then kind of essentially from a market perspective,
it should be a reward in itself.
It's a reward in itself. If anything, you should be paying us to clean up after the pensioners' shit, or to be performing this wonderful play for young chidlings or something. So I've heard it done that way. And then people explain, I can't remember, I was probably listening to Radio 4 more or less or something, and they were explaining how basically it's like a market forces thing. But I think it's also like a what you value in your society kind of thing.
It's a Thatcherite thing, let's be honest. Thatcher decided that
it's a capitalist
STEM is what's important and everything else isn't.
Yeah, it's a very capitalist thing, I think.
Yeah.
In that, if it doesn't make money, it's not worthwhile.
But culture does make money. Culture and arts does make money. It's one of the most profitable things in terms of real money and in terms of things that actually matter in life, like personal growth and expanding your interests and your mind and so forth.
Yeah, but it doesn't make money now.
No, because they've made sure
especially in education, it doesn't make money now. It makes money in a sort of fuzzy way later, which is quite difficult to measure, and that's really hard to sell to people who work in.
I suppose this is the catalyst for the writers' strike in the US and the Screen Actors Guild strikes. Just completely undervalued to the point where you go, you know what? Fuck you. We'll see what happens when you don't have access to that. Say goodbye to all.
Yeah, what they were trying to do was just replace them entirely with AI until it turned out that under US law, AI written scripts can't
be copyrighted,
which means no money. So then they were like,
"Oh shit!
Maybe we'll hire one guy to be a script consultant." And it's like, if a single person is enough of a scab to do that, I hope they're hunted down and thrown out of a high building.
I did not know that's what went down.
Yeah.
Was that the reason?
Not just for the writing, but
that's because of the strikes that they've been trying to do that.
Oh, good luck with that.
I mean, you've probably seen. I mean, actually, John Anikos, as actors, you've probably seen this. But they're talking about
just the extras thing.
Yeah, digitizing extras. You film an extra once, and then you AI gen them in every other scene you ever need.
Likeness,
so you get
crazy.
Just their likeness.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
it's appalling.
I mean, it's appalling, but it's also only one step further than the stuff we already sign over in contracts as standard, like every job. Like, you always sign over in perpetuity all rights to this material as a matter of course. So I guess for the dead inside folks running this whole show, it's only one step more to go, how about we ask them to sign away all rights to their likeness?
They don't read the T's and C's.
Let's try it.
We've had it's it's not even just extras. Like, we've had Peter Cushing's likeness. I mean, kind of.
We shouldn't have.
There he is on screen.
Albert Einstein is hawking what is it, Eon Energy or something like that?
What?
Did you not know that? Yeah, there's like there are ads for some kind of energy, or is it for smart meters or something?
Oh my god!
And it's Albert Einstein, and he goes around people's houses or something. I don't know. He's in various scenarios, and he goes, "Yeah, did you know that you could really save money with a smart meter?" And they have
Audrey Hepburn.
And the thing is,
Audrey Hepburn in the was it Galaxy?
The
people at a certain age, they're almost seen as stock characters. But it's like, no, these are real people who you are just basically resurrecting to hawk your products. And it's almost like capitalism is soulless and terrible.
Is this the first time you're realizing this?
There's a reason they call it the dead hand of capitalism.
Been reading a really good book called Moneyland, which you might have heard of before. It's Moneyland by Oliver Bullough. Why Thieves and Crooks Now Rule the World and How to Take It Back. But it's really interesting kind of dissection of kind of how we've gotten to where we are with money-driven decisions leading to kind of just sort of baseline evil and corruption around the world. But it's this really interesting thing where it's not just one person who goes, I will be evil today, in a generically foreign accent.
Sure.
Not
Pan-European,
provably German, not provably German.
Sort of vibe.
Yeah, kind of
Could be Austrian.
sort of Austrian. Evil today.
Wait, Swiss would work. You do a Swiss accent.
Hello, I'm Swiss.
No, a Swiss accent is just a German
Just do northern. It's easier.
Depends.
Most countries have a
Depends.
Hey up. I'm going to be evil
There we go.
today. What I think is kind of piss.
Damn it. My joke was good. Both Swiss listeners are laughing.
The Swissness. But
Hello, Hansel and Gretel.
yeah, there's essentially kind of like a chain of people.
Wait, Hansel and Gretel
underneath
were
them.
German. Sorry, carry on.
There's kind of like there's a chain of people, basically all the way down to you and me, who are, for their own very non-evil reasons, just trying to be good at their jobs. And when your job is a tiny part of a little machine and going, okay, if I do a thing, and then basically it goes up and up and up and up the chain, and just things get progressively more evil.
But the
With
people at the
exception
top aren't just doing their job; they are being evil.
There's some perverse incentives that are actually on them as well. Because the people at the top, so say it's CEOs, they're responsible to the board, which is responsible to the not responsible. They report to the board, which reports to the shareholders, and that's fine as long as the shareholders and the customers, have some crossover. But if they don't, it all gets weird. Please, for more reading, refer to our water companies. Like, why weren't they being punished by the shareholders for being bad at their job? Because their shareholders weren't the customers.
Because the shareholders just want the money.
Shareholders were unrelated.
Yeah.
Well, the whole idea behind it was that we would all be shareholders. I believe that was genuinely the idea, that everyone would just sort of have shares in various companies, and the companies would have interested parties making sure they're run well and would be punished for being run poorly. But it's just not.
But then in that way, every single kingdom would become, every single company would become some sort of socialist kingdom where, everyone has a stake, but at the same time, there would still be the kings at the top getting rich off of everybody.
So this is interesting. So the ratio of corporate spend, the ratio of corporate spend between wages and dividends since the 70s has done this, basically gone from one extreme to the other. So we've gone from companies paying out most of their expenses in wages to their staff to now paying much more in dividends out to their shareholders and less to wages to their staff, which is why suddenly more and more people are being paid what is basically minimum wage for doing more and more skilled jobs, because the money's got to keep going to the shareholders somehow. And have a load of people who aren't doing anything getting paid for not doing anything, which explains how we
It's
can all
the
feel
natural
like we're getting
conclusion of
poorer.
capitalism.
We could probably go around this rabbit hole for a long time. I noticed that Jamie and Anakos have both gone quite quiet.
I'm just thinking about the
and
CEO
stop.
of, I think it was Coca-Cola, who I saw
No!
her quoted in a magazine or something, in an article saying, "Oh, well, I've never asked for a pay raise. That would just be beneath me." Something along those lines. And then it was like, yeah, but she's earning 32 million a year. So why the fuck would she need a pay raise? It's the people who are working
And that's
for
not including
$2,
bonuses.
whatever. Exactly.
And they don't even
the
count
bonuses
bonuses
and
as
the
a pay- as
shares
pay.
and all of that kind of stuff. And then you're like, well, but of course you don't need to ask for a frickin' pay rise if you're earning 32 fucking million a year. It's when you are it's when you're struggling to feed and house and clothe yourself and your family that you fucking need a pay rise, and that you need to be paid something that is an actual living wage, rather than a pittance which would lead anybody to do weird and odd things to try and keep themselves alive.
Speaking of which, subscribe to our OnlyFans. We do feet pics and all sorts.
Did you hear only one foot pick though? That's Jamie, and that's the one.
Hey, you get top dollar for that shit, John.
We want to see.
There's a lot of
Clumpy
people who pay good money to see Clumpy.
in his radioactive.
Unedited patrons, this is going to be an interesting edit. Not because I don't, to be honest, find the course of the conversation interesting. I have an interesting dilemma, because I've currently got a Pubisode which started on a low note and then goes on to a lower note.
So I've got the high note. I've got it sorted. Yeah.
Jamie, have you got
You
a
ready?
high note?
No. I've got a high note. Got a high note. Did you hear about the guy
Who
he
died?
was a corporate boss in America, and he decided one day to pay everyone in his company the same wage, including himself.
Yes.
Every single person that works for that company gets the same wage, and it worked out at about $80,000. And he expected this would cause a massive rebellion and a load of people would quit. But they didn't quit. And the company actually became quite successful. And a lot of its various HR issues kind of went away because everyone was a lot happier. And it turned out that people weren't that invested in their exact salary related to other people's salary if everyone was getting the same. Play the National. The International, that's it. Not that. Not Officer of the Day.
Oh, okay. Somebody please save.
But yeah,
somebody
so-
please save me with something slightly up.
I got a little something. I got a little something that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
I came home from work, particularly soulless day, and
You work in insurance,
yes, I
don't
do.
you?
So yeah.
Oh, no!
Wait a second. I get home. My son, who's 5, is waiting at the door, and he says, "Dad, I've made you an escape room." This is true, and he gets like this like a belt from a toweling robe, and blindfolds me, leads me around to different rooms of the house, and he goes, "Take the blindfold off now." And it's like little challenges in each room. So the first one was like, you have to fill this cardboard box full of toys, but not too full, or you'll fail. And have to get some things from the living room. And then the second one was that you have to mix the hot and the cold water to make mild water. He was the judge of how mild it was, obviously. And he'd go room by room, and I'd have to do like reorganize the fridge magnets and find like something he'd hidden in the garden, and like take a photo of something in the attic for him. Like he'd watch like one episode of Crystal Maze with me over the weekend. And like I've been trying to train him in escape rooms for a while, like doing these little things. But the fact that he did all that,
You could send him into all the crawl spaces that his knees can't
You
handle.
fully corrupted him. That's amazing.
yeah, and he was all like
Are you going to be stealing any of his ideas? Were any of them something you were like, oh, I could take that, punch it up, and put some swears in there, and it's ready for the podcast?
There's something involved in the number blocks, which I think some parents would get that I might slip in at some point in the near future. But it was all like, and there was a
Please
story
don't say
behind
slip
it.
in.
Every challenge I did, I collected a gem that would then help to release a stuffed lion that was trapped under his doorway. Like the kid's 5.
Ah,
And
That is amazing.
That's
So he
amazing.
was so excited to show me around. I was like, yeah, biggest grin on my face the entire bloody time I was going around. He was amazing.
oh, that's
We
so
have
good.
to have an episode hosted by Jamie's son.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
guest on next week.
Yeah.
That'll,
We can
Probably
debate
do a better room.
economics with him.
if listeners want approximately 90 minutes of the word bum being repeated, followed by lots of giggling, then that's perfect.
Wait, hold on.
That's Mike.
That is this podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, substitute the word piss, and you've actually got the last episode.
So, yeah, I'm thankful. I'm a very proud puzzling dad, which is great.
Oh, that's so cute. Okay, I can see the barman isn't so much calling last orders as is rifling through the divorce paperwork, wondering why his wife left him, as the milkman comes to do his delivery. So before we head out into...
In service to his capitalist.
He must control the means.
Wait, he's serving piss. He does control the means.
So before we get chucked out into the light, can I get one podcast recommendation for everybody? Because I would like to recommend Pod Save the UK, which is Nish Kumar and Coco Khan. Basically, if you enjoyed the previous possibly half hour, then you'll love Pod Save the UK because it's like that but with jokes.
What we all aspire to be. I've got an easy one to recommend. Dead Eyes.
Oh, the
Dead Eyes
Tom Hanks
is-
one.
Yes, Dead Eyes is an actor called Connor Ratliff, who 20 years ago was fired from a small role in the hit miniseries Band of Brothers by Tom Hanks for having dead eyes. And it's him 20 years later trying to find out what that means, why he was fired, how that came about. He gets Seth Rogen on. Amy Mann is one of his mates. Like he gets a bunch of people on, a load of the SNL guys. like loads of people to come in and weigh in on this. He finds the guy who got his role. He talks to other guys who were in major roles in the series. He talks to the agent who took the call. I've not finished it yet. I'm hoping he gets to talk to Tom Hanks at the end. I don't know. But that's down. But the reason I recommend it is because it's a very, very, very rare glimpse into the world of casting that me and Onikos get to suffer through, and all of its weird little mechanisms and what's expected, and the various just strange normalities that we live with that are actually weird as hell. And like a sort of strange cult. So I heartily recommend Dead Eyes.
Listen to that. Sounds great.
Nice. One that I've been listening to recently, as you might expect, it's a Welsh one. It's a podcast called Tales for Wales. So it's two local boys, lovely chaps, who go through each episode is a different aspect of Welsh history, Welsh mythology, going back way into like the medieval period, Welsh folk heroes, that kind of thing. But they've got really good banter between the two of them. You can tell that they're really good mates. And it's just nice to listen to a history podcast where it's two people interacting with each other to present that topic rather than just one posh-sounding dickhead talking into a microphone for 40 minutes.
Oi.
Do you do it?
John's like, I resemble that comment.
I resemble that remark.
And then one that I've not heard, but I've heard the title, and it's very much intrigued me, is a true crime style podcast called Who Shat on the Floor at My Wedding.
I've heard about
Which
this.
is
making a note of
a
that.
couple who got married on a boat, and some mysterious person, either from the guest or from the staff, shat on the floor of the boat at their wedding. It's a classic. It's a locked room.
Oh my God, the picture.
It's a locked room mystery
I've made a
because
note of that.
it's on a boat. There's only a certain number of people it could be.
Get Jonathan Creek in there.
So, and I think it's only like a 13-part series. I think it's done now. So hopefully they figure it out. But that's one that's going to be on my to listen list very soon.
And you know how with every episode of a podcast, there's a sort of like a subtitle. In this episode, blah 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 blah. Blah. Every single subtitle is "Who shat on the floor at my wedding? Who shat on the floor at my wedding?" Just going on and on and on.
But
So-
does he ever find out?
Well, I hope I think they do. Given that
You don't know yet.
There is an episode, like it's a 13-part series thing, and the last episode is called the finale. So I'm assuming that it's the mystery is either solved or
Twist could have been that it was him.
He just doesn't remember it.
Yes, that would be the full.
Yeah, he finds a
true
video. and
circle,
it was-
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Dom.
Therapy Gecko.
Hmm.
It's a guy who I don't know if he still lives in his mother's basement, but definitely lived in his mother's basement when the podcast started. He's called Lyle. He dresses up as a lizard. He paints his face green, and I think he's from like Ohio. And he has people call in. He's not remotely qualified as a therapist, which he does make clear. But he has people call in with their problems, and he just discusses it with them. And
As the therapy
that's
gecko.
Therapy Gecko. Yeah, it's oddly cathartic. And if you think you have any problems or complications in your life, listen to a few episodes and you'll realize that your life is just so delightfully
Pretty
simple
good.
and easy compared to other people.
Is this the right time to say I don't actually listen to podcasts very much? It's not how my brain
Who
works.
let her in?
You can recommend this one.
Yeah.
I know.
Or not, I guess.
Don't worry,
the
Onikos, I hardly
podcast
listen
that
to
I've
this
listened
one.
to the most by far is the Infinite Escape Room.
Tell it to
whereby
us.
a band of ragtag ragamuffins
Who are you calling ragtag?
get together remotely and solve puzzles that they set for each other. Sometimes they're very slapdash. I've heard Neil Patrick Harris say that there's an improvisational quality to it.
I think he was being really nice when he said that. To be honest.
Yeah.
Very diplomatic way to put it.
It's been shouted.
Yeah, he definitely hit the nail on the head there from my experience with being a guest on the podcast.
Twist the knife, Onikos.
But I really enjoy it.
He's already heard
I
you.
know. But the other podcasts which I prefer to read than to listen, or it works better for my brain if I'm trying to learn something. And that would be the Unruffled podcast by Janet Lansbury, which if you have a child between the ages of 0 and 5. And you want to do sort of what's called respectful parenting or sort of gentle parenting kind of thing, where you're acknowledging that the child, although its brain is not as formed as your brain is yet, it does have emotions, and its emotions are valid, and sort of how to navigate those emotions,
even when they're not,
even when they're not, in your view, valid. And so, sort of how to navigate situations in a gentle way that gives the child space to feel.
Janet Lansbury's very good.
Cool.
Her book's very
I've
good.
just sent that to Laura.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that sounds pretty good.
It's a good one to have because she, as I say, it's literally from birth to teenage/adult years.
I'll bring us out then on one final recommendation, a podcast that has had a really big impact on me, actually, and I thought was really special. The End of the World with Josh Clark. And it's about all the various, it's about the Fermi paradox, which is basically the grand question of why aren't there aliens out there? Because the universe is really old and radio waves go a long way and we should be hearing from them, and yet there's no one there. That's kind of weird, which is vaguely linked to Oppenheimer. Anyway, but it's about that, and it's about all the idea that the great filter is probably right in front of us, and that is the great challenge that humanity will face to survive into the future. And the various ways, various forms that challenge might take, like nanotechnology or surviving atomic weapons or superbugs and all sorts of things like that, and the various ways in which the world might end. And how actually that's not necessarily a very sad thing.
Or
I'm really
the
glad
right
we ended
thing.
on up a note.
I mean, the good thing is for us to accept it and go out with a song.
Take us out, Mike.
Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da,
The
da.
listeners can't see it, but he is actually dancing the countdown
You have been
right
listening
now.
to the Infinite Escape.
Dancing.
Stalking.
But a very sad version.
Da, da, da. Da, 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 da.
Oh no.
Da, da,
I think we broke
da,
Mike.
da, da. Damn it, John, we're on a high.
I know. I had to
Just
crack
edit it
I had
out.
to
Just
ruin
cut it out.
Thruple of misery. Well, that's it from us then. We should piss off.
Is the
into
barman
night.
dead? Is the
The bar. We look over at the barman, and he is a pile of
hanging
dust.
from the ceiling?
Dust surrounded by rat skeletons. The rats have long since eaten him and have themselves died. We look at ourselves. Let's wander out into the night. And listeners, thank you so much for listening. We love you lots, and we'll see you next time on the Infinite Escape Room.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye now. See you in 6 months, Mike.